Welcome back to Houston Life. When it comes to our faces, I think we can all admit we're a little Botox and filler curious. I know I am. But sometimes the fear of looking like an overdone Real Housewife of Harris County can prevent us from diving in. That's like my fear. I don't want to look like, you know.
Is that a thing, the Real Housewives of Harris County?
It should be.
Well, luckily, our friends from the Institute of Anti-Aging, they are back with a look at how it all works. Joining us today, Dr. Richard LeConey, nurse injector CT Yaya, and models Brandon Bork. You all know Brandon, my other half, and Nicole Warren. It's great to see all of you. And of course, full disclosure to our viewers, we are patients of yours. This is where we go. For me, I'm a fan of going to an established clinic where there is a doctor in the house
right.
and trained nurse injectors. So CT, go ahead and get started on Nicole, and we'll check in with you in just a little bit, because Nicole, you get Botox how often? Every few months?
About every 4 months, I would say.
Every 4 months. Okay, so you're due.
Yes.
And you're ready for it.
I am ready.
Okay, perfect. That's what Brandon always tells me. He's like, I'm ready for my Botox. Dr. LeConey, you did something with Brandon today. You injected filler. You've only done half of his face so far. Describe to us what you did.
Yeah, because we kind of ran out of filler, so.
Because of us?
But seriously, yes. So Brandon, of course, he's got unbelievable facial proportions. I mean, his symmetry, everything's excellent. He had a little bit more, you know, kind of loss of volume right under the eye, which gives kind of a hollow-eyed look. Sometimes it can be interpreted as tired, or even getting older, but what have you. So what we did is we brought in a very nice facial filler that we put in right in this little groove right here, sometimes called the tear trough.
Okay.
And so the idea there is we filled it on this side. You can see this side is yet untreated.
Okay.
And I've promised him I'll get to that this month. But seriously, yeah, you can see the difference.
Absolutely. You can visually see the difference, but this is, I mean, this is common. Like you said, Brandon has a great natural face structure already, but gravity does its thing on all of us. And, you know, you're doing the filler to what, prevent a droop or to lift, or what is the, what is the goal?
It's just to kind of fill something. You know, he's got a very lean body, you know, frame, so it doesn't show up in his face. You know, he doesn't have a lot of facial fat. So sometimes people are really lean. Yeah, they look great from the neck down, but they get a little hollow up top.
Or if they lose weight,
we can
right?
kind of, you lose weight, same exact deal, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this way you can lose weight and have your cake and eat it too.
You look
There you go. What about dark circles under our eyes? Does this correct that?
Well, you know, that's kind of this, I'd say it's similar. Yeah, dark circles under your eyes are just loss of facial fat right there in the tear trough area. It can go just in the middle, or it can go all the way over to the other side. We can just fill it wherever it is, you know.
Interesting. And Brandon, what did you feel during this process? This happened about half an hour ago before the show.
I didn't feel anything.
You didn't feel any pain?
You kind of feel like the little, what's it called? It's not a needle.
But we do a little puncture, so it's a single puncture just before we start. We use the little thing called a cannula, which goes through the little puncture, and that way you don't hardly feel anything. I mean,
there was no pain at all.
The sub-Q tissue doesn't have any nerves.
Wow.
Okay, well, that's interesting, because I mean, I've never done the filler before. How do you like the results, Brandon?
I like it a lot. So that was my number one thing, is like I didn't really notice like loss of volume. I noticed more dark circles, and that's what sort of piqued my interest about this.
And Dr. LeConey, a lot of people have this fear, right? They think, oh, needles in the face, I'm gonna look overdone, like I've had maybe like a facelift, or, you know, too much volume. That's a legitimate fear for people, but really, I mean, this is kind of just a smoothing over. What do you tell people that have that concern?
This comes under the general category of something called facial balancing, okay? So facial balancing is where you try to make the best of someone's facial features. Find the areas where it might use a little volume to help balance out the rest, or make it more symmetrical. Some people are slightly asymmetrical. You can come in, if your jaw is a little asymmetrical, filler on one side than the other, you come in, put a little filler on the other side to make it match.
Gotcha.
Or say, you know, your cheek is underdeveloped or your lip is underdeveloped for the rest of your face, you can develop it a little bit.
Okay, and the white dots are for Botox. We're gonna get to that in just a minute. Nicole and CT is working on Nicole's injections right now, and we have Nicole's before photo. So this is without Botox, and this is normal for a lot of people. They end up developing lines in their forehead.
Yeah, laugh lines. You've
Yeah, it
laughed,
happens.
you've gotten angry, you've yelled, you know what I mean? Like, we all kind of have that.
But you didn't want those anymore, is that right, Nicole?
I did not, and I was not aware of that picture.
Sorry, it is a close-up photo of the before. And you've been a long-time patient, telling me during commercial break you've been going to the Institute of Anti-Aging for what, a decade?
About 10 years, yes.
Wow. Okay, I love that. So long even before Houston Life. And what was it, aside from your forehead, what was it that brought you to them in the first place?
Well, I'd heard that they did very natural, so they didn't overdo it. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is something that you get, again, we said about every 4 months. CT was a master injector here. You did that so quick. How are the lengths of the treatment, CT?
Less than 5 minutes, as you can see. It's pretty painless, right?
Oh, yeah,
and
no
pretty
pain.
quick. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Really, really cool. It does take about 2 weeks. I know from experience. It takes about 2 weeks to settle in. And CT, you're going to inject Brandon now?
Yes.
Okay. And Brandon, when was the last time you had Botox? We were trying to figure this out.
I think it was November. I'm usually sort of like 5 to 6 months.
Can you lift your eyebrows right now?
How dare you?
Will you please do it? Will you lift your eyebrows for us?
Oh, way too much movement.
So typically, I think we have some photos of what Brandon typically looks like when you're on a more regular Botox regimen going every few months, typically, about every 4 months. So here you are on the right side, typically very, very smooth, and it's been bothering you lately.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say,
I'm
Brandon?
also just very expressive, so I tend to have more movement on my forehead.
He moves his eyebrows a lot. Okay, so CT is going to get started in Brandon's forehead. Dr. LeConey, final thoughts about people who are coming in and they're nervous because your wife Dana LeConey was telling me one of the first questions you get from your customers is, I don't want to look
Overdone.
Or not like myself anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to look overdone, you don't really want to come to us, because we don't do that.
Right.
I mean, I suppose if someone twists my arm, but the idea is really we like to make people look great and look natural, to emphasize their better features, to balance their features, and so it's really just, and if they're a little bit older, then we try to, take them back a few years, so that their friends still don't hardly know what happened, but they look good.
Okay, so you're not going to walk out of there looking like a totally different person.
Right.
And I mean, Nicole is just like a couple little bee stings. This is something you can do on your lunch break. My Botox doesn't last that long. When you say you're expressive, Brandon, I think I have like 3 months in between mine because I'm just making all the facial expressions. Thank you guys so much.
Well, the bumps go away very, very quickly.